Geobyte.
Hi students, welcome to the Geobyte Diploma series. In this video, we will start a new course called Theory of Simple Bending. Before going to discuss the bending equation, first let me define the simple bending. Dear students, simple bending means the bending of any beam in the absence of shear force. The bending of any beam in the absence of shear force is called pure bending or simple bending. The bending of any beam in the absence of shear force is called pure bending or simple bending. Let us take the block diagram. So this is a beam what I have selected. The beam what I selected is A, B, C, D, and the axis which is passing through the centroid is called neutral axis. Now a layer I considered a layer PQ at a distance of y from the neutral axis. I have considered a layer PQ at a distance of y from the neutral axis. Now I am placing the support somewhere here and applying the number of forces like this. Once the forces are applied, the final position of the beam is looking like this. This is how the beam is looking finally. So once the beam is bent, look at the region of the beam above the neutral axis. The region of the beam above the neutral axis is compressing or contracting and the region of the beam below the neutral axis, this region is extending or elongating. Since this region is elongating or the region below the neutral axis is elongating, therefore that region of the beam is subjected to tensile force. And the region above the neutral axis is subjected to compressive force. That means half portion of the beam is subjected to compressive force and remaining half tensile force. The net resultant force on the neutral axis is 0. Since the net resultant force on the neutral axis is 0, the length of the neutral axis cannot be changed. Then you extend the lines from the A dash and B dash. Because of the bending, A becomes A dash, B becomes B dash, C becomes C dash. This is the C. This is the C. Right, and this is the D dash. C becomes C dash, C becomes C dash, D becomes D dash, and PQ is becoming P dash Q dash. But length of the neutral axis cannot be changed. Then what you do is you project the lines from the A dash and B dash. Those lines are meeting at a particular point O. From that O or 0, you project a vertical line towards the neutral axis. The distance from that intersecting point to the neutral axis is called R. R is called here radius of curvature. R is called radius of curvature. Radius of curvature. That means neutral axis is lying at a radius of r from the intersecting point. but we have taken the layer PQ at a distance of y from the neutral axis. Therefore, the radius for P dash Q dash arc is the radius for P dash Q dash arc is what r plus y equal to radius of the layer P dash Q dash. Now that layer is looking like this. This is the layer or arc. That layer is looking like an arc. Then this is the theta. This is the radius of the arc or PQ, layer PQ. Then the arc length arc length arc length PQ equal to what you might have studied in the engineering graphics, r theta. Now P dash Q dash arc length it is like this. This is the P dash Q dash arc. 1 minute. This is the P dash Q dash arc length. That P dash Q dash is available at a distance of r plus y. Then arc length P dash Q dash is equal to r plus y into theta. You may have doubt that, sir, how the PQ equal to r theta? Actually, here the PQ equal to originally for the original layer PQ equal to NA. That is equal to AB. Of course, that is equal to CD. That means the length of the neutral axis is equal to PQ originally. Since the neutral axis length will be equal to PQ, that's why this PQ I considered as a neutral axis. That PQ length equal to neutral axis length. That is the reason arc length PQ equal to r theta. I hope you understood. Originally or before bending, PQ equal to length of the neutral axis. The length of the neutral axis, it is like this. This is the neutral axis, 1 minute. This is the neutral axis. That neutral axis is at a radius of r. Angle is theta. Then the length of the arc length NA equal to what? R theta only. But NA equal to what? NA equal to PQ only. That is equal to r theta. That is the reason I have written arc length PQ equal to r theta. Then change in length of the layer. Change in length of the layer. Delta L equal to final length P dash Q dash minus PQ. Then strain in the layer. Strain in the layer, let that is small e equal to change in length by original length. Change in length of the layer by original length of the layer. Change in length of the layer P dash Q dash minus PQ by original length of the layer PQ. It is equal to r plus y into theta minus r theta divided by r theta. You simplify this part, it is equal to r theta plus y theta minus r theta divided by r theta. It is equal to r theta cancel. Finally y by r. Therefore strain small e equal to y by r. That is how you can find the strain small e. And remember, if the beam bending is within the elastic limit, we are just assuming that for finding the bending equation, the beam is bending within the elastic limit. Otherwise, first let us know the assumptions or conditions. Look at the first assumption. The material of the beam is homogeneous and isentropic. The material of the beam homogeneous means throughout the length of the beam it must be maintaining uniform cross section. And isotropic, the beam is said to be isotropic if it is maintaining same elastic properties in all directions from a particular point. That is the meaning of isotropic. So the material of the beam must be homogeneous and isotropic. Once again, homogeneous beam means the beam which is maintaining uniform cross section is called homogeneous beam. Isotropic means the beam which is maintaining same elastic properties in all directions. That is the first assumption. Second assumption, the beam is initially straight and it is unloaded. Unstressed can also be written as unloaded. एक minute. The beam is initially unloaded or unstressed. That means no load is initially acting. Next, the length of the neutral axis remains same before bending and after bending. Since the net resultant force acts on the neutral axis is 0, the length of the neutral axis remains same before bending and after bending. Next assumption, the bending of the beam is within the elastic limit. The bending of the beam is within the elastic limit. That means the bending must be within the elastic region. Therefore, you can apply the Hooke's law, that is stress by strain equal to constant. Next, the Young's modulus remains constant. The Young's modulus remains constant in both tension and compression region. You know, once the beam is loaded like this, the region above the neutral axis is subjected to compressive force, below the neutral axis subjected to tensile force. Though upper part is subjected to compressive force, lower part is subjected to tensile force, the Young's modulus remains same in both compression zone and tensile zone. And the next one, each layer of the beam is free to extend or contract. That means all layers of the beam must be freely expanding or freely contracting. Next, the radius of curvature is very large compared to the original dimensions of the cross section. The original dimensions like BC, AD, this is the original cross section. The radius of curvature is R. That radius of curvature is very large compared to the original cross section of the beam. So with these assumptions, let us find the bending equation. Already we have discussed up to the strain. Now let us discuss the remaining part. Since the bending of the beam is within the elastic limit only, within the elastic limit stress is directly proportional to strain. Or stress by strain equal to constant. Stress by strain is equal to constant. That constant is called Young's modulus. Young's modulus denoted by capital E. Then stress sigma, here bending stress is sigma, divided by strain small e equal to Young's modulus E. From this, sigma by Young's modulus is equal to strain. But what is the strain, dear students? The strain is y by r. So it is equal to y by r. So from that I can also write sigma by y is equal to E by r, where sigma equal to bending stress, let me write it clearly, sigma equal to bending stress, y equal to distance from neutral axis to layer. एक minute, I will show it. Look at the y. Y is the distance from neutral axis to layer. Y equal to distance from neutral axis to layer. Next, E equal to Young's modulus. This is the material constant. R equal to radius of curvature. Radius of curvature. Now let this is the equation number 1. We have taken a small layer PQ. Assume the area of the layer PQ is dA. Area of the layer PQ is dA. Then force on the bending force on the layer. Let that is dF. Since the layer is very small, that's why force acts on the layer is small. That's why I written dF equal to stress multiplied by area. Stress multiplied by area of the layer. Area of layer. Okay. From this, the force on the layer equal to stress multiplied by area of the layer is dA. But dF equal to sigma. Look at the sigma. Stress equal to, from that what can be written? From this, one more step. Sigma by y equal to E by r. From this, stress sigma equal to E by r into y. So in place of sigma, I can write the E by r into y into dA. That is the force on the layer. Now bending moment on the layer. Bending moment on the layer. Dm equal to bending force multiplied by distance from neutral axis to that layer, that is y. Bending moment on the layer dm equal to bending force on the layer multiplied by distance from neutral axis to that layer. So the bending moment dm equal to df equal to what? Df equal to E by r into y into dA into y. Simplify this value. Dm equal to, I can write E by r into y square into dA. That is the bending moment on the layer. Therefore, total bending moment. That is the bending moment for the layer only. Therefore, total bending moment m equal to so algebraic sum of dm, that means algebraic sum of E by R into y square into dA. Total bending moment m equal to E by R constant, Young's modulus constant, radius of curvature also constant for a particular dimension of the body and loading, then it is algebraic sum of y square into dA. As we know, the algebraic sum of y square into dA is called second moment of area or moment of inertia. That portion or that part already we discussed with the moment of inertia. So once again, the algebraic sum of y square into dA is called second moment of area or moment of inertia, denoted by capital I. The quantity algebraic sum of y square into dA is called second moment of area or moment of inertia denoted by I. Therefore bending moment m equal to total bending moment m equal to E by R into algebraic sum of y square dA can be written as I. I is called moment of inertia. From that I can write that, let me write it clearly. Bending moment, total bending moment. Now from that I can write that m by I equal to E by R. Let this is the equation number 2. That is equation number 2. Now what is the equation 1? Let us go back to the equation 1. Sigma by y equal to E by R. Equation 1 is sigma by y, bending stress by y equal to E by R. This is the equation number 1. Compare or from the equation 1 and 2, from the equation 1 and 2, from the equation 1 and 2, equations from the equations 1 and 2, you can write that, like this: E by R equal to m by I equal to sigma by y. Ek minute, I will write it clearly. E by R equal to m by I equal to sigma by y. So that is this equation is called bending equation. This is the bending equation. Remember where E equal to Young's modulus, it is in Newton per millimeter square. R equal to radius of curvature, may be in mm. M equal to bending moment, may be in Newton mm. I equal to moment of inertia, I equal to moment of inertia maybe in mm power 4 and sigma equal to bending stress, sigma equal to bending stress maybe in Newton per millimeter square, y equal to distance from neutral axis to outermost layer, distance from neutral axis to, otherwise let me write it clearly, neutral axis to, distance from neutral axis to outermost layer. So that is the terminology. Now once again let us take the equation E by R equal to m by I equal to sigma by y. From this you take this part, you take that part, you will get bending moment m by I equal to sigma by y, or m equal to I by y into sigma. Remember the quantity I by y is called section modulus. The quantity I by y is called section modulus. Section modulus denoted by Z. The quantity I by y is called section modulus denoted by Z. Therefore, the bending moment M equal to section modulus Z times the bending stress. This is very important relation. Here M is the bending moment, Z equal to section modulus, and sigma equal to bending stress. Now let us find the section modulus for different standard sections. Now I am going to decide the section modulus for different standard sections. Section modulus for different standard sections. Standard sections. First let us take the square. Let us take the square. Square, you know, breadth and depth both are equal. For a square of width, 1 minute. For a square, this may be the width and this may be the depth. Here b equal to d, b equal to d. Then for a square, I equal to bdq by 12, bdq by 12, but b equal to d, then I can say d power 4 by 12, y equal to d by 2, y equal to d by 2. Then section modulus z equal to I by y, I equal to d power 4 by 12 divided by d by 2. Section modulus z equal to d cube by 6. Section modulus z equal to d cube by 6 can also be written as b cube by 6. That is for the square. Next, come to the rectangle. Come to the rectangle. Rectangle, breadth is b, depth is d. Breadth is b, and the depth is D. Here B is not equal to D. Here B is not equal to D. This is the depth. Then I equal to B D cube by 12. Y equal to D by 2. Why it is like this? Join the diagonals. This is the y bar or y. So this is the y. So y equal D by 2. Then z equal to I by y equal to BD cube by 12 divided by D by 2. It is equal to BD square by 6. So section modulus for rectangle equal to BD square by 6. Now come to the hollow rectangle. For hollow rectangle, hollow rectangular section. For a hollow rectangle of width capital B, it is like this. This is the hollow rectangular one, like this. 1 minute. This is the hollow rectangular part of outer depth capital D, inner depth small d, outer width is capital B and inner width is small b. This is the inner width small b. Then the section modulus z equal to, for hollow section, for solid section BD square by 6. It is for hollow section. Otherwise let us write the I and z separately. I equal to capital B capital D cube minus small b small d cube by 12. Y equal to capital D by 2. Z equal to I by y. Substitute these two values for getting capital B, 1 minute, capital B capital D cube minus small b small d cube by 6d. Similarly, circular section, solid circular section. This is the fifth one. Circular section, fourth one, third one, fourth one. 1 minute. Circular section of diameter D. Circular section of diameter D. This is the diameter D. For the circular section, I equal to pi by 64 into D power 4. Y equal to D by 2. Z equal to I by y. Equal, simplify these two values for getting pi by 32 into D power 4. This is the centroid G. Then this is equal to y. 1 minute. So this is equal to y. Similarly, for hollow circular one, hollow circular section, hollow circular section of outer diameter capital D, inner diameter small d, like this. This may be the outer diameter capital D, inner diameter, this is the inner diameter small d. Better to hatch it for your clarity. like this. Like this. That is the hollow circular one. For a hollow circular one, I equal to pi by 64 into capital D power 4 minus small d power 4. These are all the formulas we studied with the moment of inertia. And y equal to capital D by 2, z equal to I by y. Simplify this value for getting pi by 32 into capital D power 4 minus small d power 4 by capital D. That is how you can decide the section modulus for different geometric sections. With this, my dear students, the theory for the theory of simple bending completed. So with this I am concluding this video. In the very next video we will discuss some important problems. Thank you for watching.
Geobite.